Hi. What's happening, man? I am at a loss for words. Not because I don't have them, because I have too many. Um, I've talked about certain stuff before that kind of like I thought I was aware of the level to which a specific quote unquote ancient people, the influence that they have on current affairs, and it's just like I wasn't making the connections between as much as I thought I was, and now I'm watching this movie called The Golem, and it's not using any like terminology that I'm not familiar with, but I guess maybe it was just like, the time for my brain to like turn in the specific way for me to like put some shit together. And like I'm sure I'm a get some kind of hate off this, but I mean I still don't give a fuck. I've been saying that probably I think I said that in the first video that I ever put on YouTube, and have said it consistently throughout like a lot of my videos, and I still don't give a fuck, in most ways. I don't think many within the like, supposed, or not supposed, the spiritual communities, the conscious communities, the truth. I mean, I think the truth people seem to know a bit more, but it leans toward like a weird racism that's also not cool, but I get it. I kind of get it a little bit. But like there are lots of beings that are like being rewarded for talking about specific shit and teaching, more so than talking about, teaching specific shit. And I don't think anyone at this point realizes like what that is, like what that's kind of transforming shit into in a way. And it's like a small step in what could be a process. People talk about things and they don't know what they're talking about for real. They just maybe heard someone else say it. I can think of one specific situation where they heard someone else say it, and this dude had like a lot of influence, including, and I'm still like somewhat, I still have some gratitude because it led me down a specific path. But I think that there are more beings that haven't, fuck, how do I say this? So Isaiah Rashad, I'll just explain what I'm trying to say. There's stuff that dude said that was fairly on point, but then there's a lot of other stuff that I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but like, I'll just give an example. He talked about the Merkaba, right? The Merkaba is from a very specific system that I don't think most of the beings that talk about Merkabas now actually like study anything. Maybe they might look into it a little bit, but at the very least, I don't think that they're putting things together. I think that there are so many beings that are like copy pasting their spiritual system that they don't understand that a lot of what they're copy pasting doesn't come from different shit. It all is coming from one specific group that has kind of nomadically moved from place to place. and now has an extreme level of influence everywhere. Even in places where they seem to not have that, they still kind of have that. And I talk about illusory separation, the illusion of separation a lot. And I don't mean it in the way that that some talk about it, where it's like we're all one. I mean illusory separation, like you know, the supposed difference between those that maybe you know, pray to one deity versus those that pray to another deity. But they all fall under the same umbrella, the Abrahamic umbrella. Man, there's a whole bunch of influence within these metaphysical circles and spiritual circles and conscious circles. They're all, I don't think many of you realize you're talking about the same shit, but you think that you're not, like, subscribing to Abrahamic religion anymore. Like, there are many that are kind of fucking around with the Kabbalah right now and the 72 Goetia. That is Abrahamic. Even if you think that you are not doing Abrahamic shit, or, you know, giving reverence to, or showing, you know, worship to whatever, you know, God you believe is attached to that system, if you practice something from that, you're still messing around with that pantheon of shit, right? And I think that there's a level of this stuff, these what I would call kind of like versions of metaphysical technologies, where you maybe believe that because you don't claim yourself to be in league with, or in service to, for instance, you know, I'm not going to say specific deities, Abrahamic shit. And up until I'm in the middle of this movie, not even the middle, I've only watched 30 minutes of it, and I kept hearing some of the things that they were saying, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, you know, there are beings teaching these things to each other currently, but kind of like very intentionally and purposefully leaving out aspects of it so that it sounds like it's just some witchy shit, or it's just some magic. But I think that that's because, you know, certain powers that be know us at this point and know that we've gotten so, as a civilization, not speaking about myself, we, quote unquote, have gotten so lazy about things that we'll just do something and not really do that much research into it. You know, I think that those that are kind of fucking around with like magic and other divinations and systems, you know, don't really understand what they're doing. And I already knew that, but I didn't know the level to which it's being kind of parsed out into other shit. You know, there are some that know that they're fucking around with the Kabbalah, but I don't think that they actively realize that they're participating in a very specific, like, that is religion. You say that you have left religion behind, but then you're, you know, doing stuff with the Goetia, or you're doing the Tree of Life, or you're, you know, like, there's the 72 Goetia, the 72 holy letters of God. Like, there are all these things that come from a very specific pantheon of shit, and I don't see where many really understand that because I hear people say, "Oh, you got to leave religion alone. That's messing your head up." But then they're like, "Yeah, I'm on this. I'm, I'm evoking, payment or something," and they think because payment is in reference to a specific thing that it's not Abrahamic, but hell is an Abrahamic creation. Like the concept of hell and the devil, Satan, those are Abrahamic creations. So in order for you to be participating in something that has to do with a king of hell or a general of hell or a prince of hell or any of that shit that's in the Kabbalah, that's still Abrahamic. It doesn't, so you're not praising, Jesus or Yahweh or El or anything directly, but you're still participating, like you're still involving yourself in something Abrahamic, and it doesn't have to be direct in that way. Like when you do a lot of these divinations, are you still saying amen in there potentially, right? You're still saying amen, and you're saying specific terms. Like, I don't think that many understand how these technologies work, and it's very disturbing to me because on a more wide scale of things, and going more into the vein of the type of shit that I talk about, I don't think that many at all understand what religion is, and I think that that's very obviously intentional. And I'm not saying that I fully understand it, but I do know that a lot of invoking and evoking is happening, and we don't know we don't know how this shit works, dude. Like, people keep talking about the Elohim and, the information that the Elohim is not a being but a group of beings. People learn that and then they just stop, and it's like, sure, but you can, if the more that you study these texts and the more that you like kind of understand how to read it, you can see stuff that gives you an idea of like, oh, this isn't some like caveman shit or some like, I forgot what all those old movies and shit were. Like, you've been given specific perceptions of all of these stories and all of these beings and shit, but a lot of it has been heavily manipulated. I've said that a whole bunch on my channel, I know that. But even the concept, like the perception, the conceptualization of what you envision when you think about these things, you think that there was no technology, you think that there's a lot of mysticism behind it and things like that. But if you learn how to read this shit, you can very, very potentially see it from a whole different light. And there's things that reference technologies, there's things that reference what many would call UFOs now, but that doesn't have to be what that is. It could just be very advanced technology from a different place. Not saying space necessarily, because, you got to divorce yourself from these things that you think you are sure of. And, man, I just think that a whole lot of beings are hurt right now, or are desperate or longing for something, and very, very short in patience. And so rather than really doing like a lot of background on what they're fucking around with, they're just hearing someone that sounds very smart or intelligent talk about things like the Goetia, or the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah, and it's positioned in ways that sound very harmless in a lot of ways. And even myself, I've said, oh, it's just psychology. And to an extent, that is true, but you're still using very specific words and terminology when you do some of these spells and these divinations and prayers, there are words that are in that have etymology that's fucking weird, like the word amen, you know? And sure, there are other beings that have done, you know, a lot of work and created videos to tell you where the word amen and all these other things come from, but I don't think that the gravity of that hits as many as it might seem, because there's this thought that, like, if I just don't go to church, I can still do whatever I want in this whole other area, and technically I'm not Abrahamic anymore. And I'm not even just trying to, like, I mean, I guess I kind of am, though. It's all of these things kind of point to a very specific group. I put a video in my I put a video in my community section, and I'm not going to say the name of the video for the sake of I'm trying to do this in a way that doesn't come off as like Satan worshipy, because I'm definitely not. That's stupid. I'm not doing that. I don't worship anything. I definitely venerate the first, but that there's no religion associated with that. And there's no prayers. I don't know the first name. There are no angels and demons and shit attached to the first. All of that stuff comes from what I'm talking about. All of that shit comes from a very specific group that has, like, very strategically created these offshoots to give, in my opinion, the illusion of separation. But in reality, these are all referencing the same shit. And there's very much a kind of hierarchy where, you know, it just, I don't know, man. Maybe I could make an actual video on it, but I mean, to be honest, this is kind of weird. My research is leading me to shit where I'm kind of like, I don't give a fuck, but at the same time, it's like, this shit's kind of dangerous. This shit's kind of fucking dangerous to talk about. And you can see examples of it on, like, higher, like, much higher, you know, plateaus than I'm on. And some of it is definitely entertainment. Like, fucking Kanye West didn't get in trouble, dude. Like, if you believe that, then I don't know what to tell you there. But, what I mean is the dude didn't say anything of consequence, you know? He just said some shit. And like I've said a few times, anything that gets, like, pushed a lot in the public, anything that gets pushed a lot as far as, like, a concept is very likely, like, not anti-culture, you know? When you create these two choices or these two dualistic things for you to pick one of, that doesn't mean that they're actually different, you know? In fact, you're just choosing to participate in opposition, and that is intended. And it's very, very complex because there is some shit to oppose, but when you choose one of two things that are of the same coin, you're not choosing an opposition in a real sense. You're choosing one of, it's like a fixed game. It's like a carnival game, you know, or like one of those games at the fair or something, you know? I don't know that I'm conveying this correctly, but it's so fucking weird, and it almost feels like some very, very, like, Batman villain shit, where they're kind of like putting themselves out there as as like a villain, but it's almost like to make make themselves into like an anti-hero. Like everyone's against us, but we're coming back and we're gonna be the best. I don't know how to say this shit, dude. I don't know how to say this shit. Because if I say it just flat out, it sounds like bigotry. But dude, that's only because no one will fucking go read this shit. No one will go pay real attention to the shit that very few of us are referencing, but a whole lot of us are being tricked into thinking we believe. Like there's a majority of surface people that are like, yeah, they're bad people, and it's in the news every day right now. They're the ones that are doing the bad things, and they're the aggressor, and so on and so forth, which is true. But what's being pushed out there is the evidence of that is staged. Like, people are actually perishing, people are actually going through shit, but it's like a play. Meanwhile, there's like other weird shit that is far more like all-encompassing of the realm. Like, not literally everywhere, but in many, many places. And even in like, Rome. Even in Rome, it looks like it's a different faction, but it's not a different faction because, again, Abrahamic. Those three are of the same and just kind of like, giving the semblance of being separate. Like, fuck, dude. I don't know. I really don't know how to say a lot of this in a way where, dude, I don't want to, I've never, I guess I have done a few videos like this, but I don't really like making videos where I have to do like a bunch of research for everyone and then like present it in that way. I like doing it to where I can give you like context clues and like specific words and things. I like to show you the path that I walked down, and if you want to also walk down it and see these things for yourself, then I feel like it has more meaning. But there's very specific topics like this one where I look around. When I opened this app, the very first video I saw was like very obvious, like psyop-y shit, where what's dude's name? Andrew Tate and like Ryan Garcia are very obviously like participating in like a skit, basically talking about the elites and all this shit. When most people talk about those things, they don't talk about those that actually like, because they don't talk about those that actually have the station that they're referencing. Meaning, like, they'll talk about like Bill Gates or someone stupid like that who's just a tool. You don't know the names of the beings that are actually doing these things because they don't want you to know that. Why would they ever want you to know that? Even when we reference like the 13 families, those aren't the real people. Why the fuck would they let you know their real names? It's like mockery. It's like clue shit. But within all of that, there's like very high up, groups or clans, like the one that I keep referencing. I say it all the time, fucking Canaanites. I say it all the time, but like, I don't think that people are understanding how much they are integrating certain shit into a lot of what you all are paying attention to and practicing. Kabbalah, that is from Canaanite culture. Merkaba, that is from Canaanite culture. The 72 Goetia, that springs from Abrahamic culture. Holy Guardian Angel, fucking Aleister Crowley was referencing Abrahamic culture. Like, You know, there are some that talk about like ancient Kemet and stuff like that, but they're not really using any of the practices from that because you don't know them. They're not as widely available. But you know, it is available. Mysticism from the three Abrahamic heads. And it's being kind of like broken into little pieces and sprinkled into shit to where people think that they know that they're potentially an Indian, but they're talking about Merkabas and doing like stuff from they're doing all these things from something and then thinking that they're not, they've left the church. So they're no longer, you know, they're no longer religious, but then the rest of the things that come out of their mouth, and I'm talking about like influencers at this point. And I'm not trying to be a dick because like I said, I started there. I started listening to their lectures and then kept going and then look back and realize, oh, you're teaching like a bunch of Canaanite shit. It's all muddied up and confused, and those that are listening to them speak don't realize like that they're listening to not nonsense. I almost said nonsense, but like you're still being preached to in an Abrahamic fashion, and because you have feathers and rain dances, you think that you've gotten away from it, or because you reference Zechariah Sitchin, you think that you've gotten away from it. Meanwhile, there are other aspects that are being taught within that same conversation, within that same circle of thought, that is directly connected to Canaanite like mysticism. That's really disturbing to me. And like, even within me saying this, at the beginning of me talking, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, not fearful, but I'm like, I don't want to be fucked with, dude. You know, I'm just talking, you know? I'm just talking. But that is disturbing. And like, even now, I'm not saying that dude should be in prison. I don't know anything about if he did that shit or not. I don't know. You know, when it comes down to it, I don't fucking know, and neither do you unless you were there. What I do know, though, is that he talked about Anunnaki, but then also taught about Merkabas, you know, and like many other like strange things that shouldn't necessarily be attached to each other. It's not to say that if you want to do magic and shit, whatever, you know, you got to go down your own path. And if you discover that you like that shit, then that's the magic you were looking for. But Isaiah Rashad, what up, Void? You caught me in a rant, brother. But you know, it's just, like I said, I still respect that dude. Led me down paths that were very beneficial, and I still, some of the roots of my theory started from things I heard him say. But that's kind of the case with anything. You can hear some things that are beneficial, and then other parts of it or other aspects of it can be detrimental or not helpful. And it's very strange to me that the beings that are teaching in this manner are being rewarded for it algorithmically, which translates to fiat currency. Meanwhile, there are other beings that may be saying similar stuff, or maybe they're saying completely different stuff, but their shit gets like suppressed heavily, and you start to see this kind of thing happen where, I'm speaking more so about the Aboriginal circles at this point, because I've kind of removed myself from any specific circle, because, you know, that's just what my path is. My research has led me to that. But within the Abrahamic circles, I still like, I'm really lazy about unsubscribing to shit, and I just also like to pay attention to see like what's going on with that, because I still have to go out in public, and any of these other beings go out in public too. So, you know, you gotta pay attention. But they're all talking about the Sitchin interpretation of the Anunnaki. They're all referencing, aliens and mother planes and all of these different versions of the same thing. Like, there's a lot of psyop-y shit is what I'm getting at. There's a lot of psyop-based stuff. And it's concerning to me because it's like we're not learning lessons from other situations that have happened in the past. The Black Panthers, I'm not trying to destroy anybody's, progressive or if that makes you feel empowered, then fine. But in reality, that was an op. That was an operation. They didn't get infiltrated. That started off government. The hippie movement started off government. Like, we think we've had these movements that progressed us in a specific direction that we chose. And I'm talking about everybody at this point, not just Aboriginal people. Most of that shit has been fake, dude. The hippie movement that they, claim to have done all these things for us to progress things into, future thought. Those were, started by operatives and then kind of take a life of their own while operatives continue to manage it. Same thing with the civil rights movement and the Black Panthers. These things weren't completely genuine. They had genuine people involved in them, and there were many, many beings that wanted to see real progress happen and real benefit, given to the beings involved. But as far as how those things started, government, dude, and I just see that happening right now, and I don't know of a way to say that doesn't just piss those people off and think I'm some kind of race traitor or some shit. And it sucks, some of the shit that I entertain in my head, I don't even say out loud because I know it's not going to do any good. It's just going to give those groups something to soundbite and make me seem like I said, a piece of shit or a race traitor or something. Meanwhile, I care so much that I'm paying attention to it and can say shit that would give you context into why I'm even potentially thinking this way, but you don't care. And in a way, I don't blame you, but at the same time, we could be smarter than that. All of us. We could be smarter than that and just pay attention. They don't hide a lot of this shit, It's, you just have to listen or be able to see it. But it's so intricate and very genius the way that this shit gets set up. And you more times than not don't find out that the beings that are at the head of these things are fucking traitors until way later. That's why I put a video up on Instagram that I didn't put on my YouTube. That's Charleston White, who, I don't agree with most of what that fuckboy says, but at the same time, though, he's not necessarily a fuckboy because he says a lot of real shit. And he's in an interview and he's talking about Al Sharpton and how Al Sharpton is a piece of shit government informant. And not only that, most high-profile preachers are government informants. Not all of them, but they are still kind of turncoats in a way if you think about all the Abrahamic shit that I just said. But on a real level, high-profile preachers are government informants. If nothing else, just like he said in the interview, because they are tax exempt, they are working with the government. So if the government were to approach them and say, hey, we have a high value target that's in your congregation that we need to know information about, do you think they're going to not tell on you and give up their tax exemption? No, dude, they're not gonna do that. So, it's very similar to that, but now the church is this. The church is the fucking social media shit. So these bigger influencers and shit that you treat like gurus and defend like they're your father or brother or something, they don't give a fuck about what they say to you. They don't care, dude. As long as it works and makes them money past a certain point, they don't give a fuck about telling you certain stuff. That's why I talked cash money shit about Billy Carson, because dude's kind of exposing how he thinks in recent interactions, and it's creepy to watch. I'm not sure if anybody around those circles knows about the shit that's going on with him and the dude from Archaics, but very, very weird. We do share an algorithm, Void. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, this stuff is creepy, man. And I think that we're aware of it, but we're not, like, actually aware of it. Like, we may talk to each other about it in passing, but none of us are really like, wait, how connected is all this shit? Because I keep having these epiphanies where I'm like, oh, it's way worse than I thought. And then I talk about it, and, like, I don't really see too many that are talking about it. And I'm sure that's algorithm kind of like keeping those that are. I more so than anything see many that are trying to like crack the Bible or crack the Quran, or saying that Aboriginals in America are the real Hebrews, and just really fucking like goofy shit. If you knew what you were saying, you wouldn't be saying that shit, dude. You don't even want to be that. Like, the Israelite. Ooh, all right. Listen, like I said, there's a documentary type thing that I posted in my community section with it's not from my channel, and it's from a channel that doesn't have anything else on it except this is the first thing that they put out. I put it in my community section today. I'm not going to say the name of it because you're not going to go give it a shot. Please watch that and like listen to what these biblical scholars are saying, and you'll hear shit that I've been trying to say. You'll hear shit that I've been trying to say. I'm not being racist. I'm not saying that all of those that are within those groups are like this. It's just like anything else. There are good of this and bad of this. Then you move to the next one. There are good of that and bad of that. I'm just saying, when you look at culture, though, seems very much like a takeover. And I don't know what that even means, because that's not being revealed yet. That hasn't been shown yet. Like, what are they going to do once everyone's like Kabbalah-ing and Merkaba-ing and referencing, the Torah and the Talmud? Like, do you know what's in the Talmud, dude? I keep trying to say that, and no one really even commented on that. Read the fucking Talmud. It's fucked up. That shit is fucked up. It's gross. And I think that if more were aware of these things that they're referencing, they'd be like, I don't want to be associated with that shit. But again, because there are high level, what's his name? 19 Keys. Fuck him too. Like, you're being led by fucking plants. You're being led by plants, and not all of them have millions of views and followers and shit. They don't have to approach them physically. They can flip them with algorithm. All they have to do is reward them with views for shit where they talk about the stuff that they like, and then not give them views for shit that, like, hey, we don't want them to think about that. Talk more about this thing over here. Tell them about how to use the Merkaba more. Like, even if it's just getting you to reference shit from these pantheons, that seems to be very much what is intended and liked. even on the level of the fake Anunnaki shit from the Sitchin stuff. Like, those interpretations are incorrect, you know? And I mean, there's very obvious parts of it that show some stuff where if all of these beings that were calling themselves the Anunnaki actually read the Enuma Elish, they would be fucking upset. You sound slightly goofy when you say some of the shit that you're saying, and then say when you say you are Anunnaki, you're not incorrect, but you are at the same time, and you need to go read that for yourself so that you understand what I mean when I say that. You know, like, it's different than you think it is. From a technical standpoint, like, everyone walking around very likely, most likely, is genetically connected to the Anuna. Everyone, not just Aboriginal people. And I think that some that are within the Aboriginal, like, mysticism and metaphysical circles and shit, some are looking outside of those circles and listening to other lecturers and stuff like that, and like expanding and maybe seeing some other stuff, some other perspectives, but most only listen to like 1 to 3 dudes talk like religion, like religiously, and don't even see, you know, the other stuff. There are other groups that are being told very similar shit to you, but it's tweaked for them. Like, you know, I don't see anyone noticing or talking about that. That's not creepy to anybody that Aboriginals in America are being told they're the chosen Anunnaki. Meanwhile, other beings within America are being told very similar shit, while all of you are being taught Canaanite mysticism. Dude, like, do you see what you get what I'm saying? Like, that's just off top. That's weird. You know? Not telling you what to do with that information, just I feel like it is beneficial to know that. And I don't know, everyone's like staking a sense of identity in these fucking shitty snitches, dude. Like, because they keep saying peace and love and calling you family every 5 fucking minutes, you think that they care about you. Meanwhile, most of them are lying through their teeth to you, or they're nuts. I'm not saying every single one of them knows that they're doing this. Some of them are crazy. Those are crazy people. Or they're like just so desperate that they don't give a fuck about what they participate in, as long as it makes them feel better. And I kind of get that, because these are frustrating times. But at the same time, I would rather be associated with and participate in real shit as much as I possibly can, and truthful stuff as much as I possibly can, rather than someone like teaching me a system of something that essentially is not a thing or not tangible. You know, I'll move from the religious stuff. Astrology, same thing there. When those concepts were created, the sky looked completely different. The planets that were viewed as real or not, and their positioning and all that stuff, very different. And some astrologers account for those things. Not talking shit on astrology in totality. I'm just saying, think of how many beings pick up a tarot deck and a book on astrology, and then they start a YouTube channel or a TikTok, more likely. And then within 6 months, they're like a lot of people's guru. Like, and then they're taking like very serious life, like life lessons and advice from these beings and no one's looking at that like, wow, that's fucking weird, you know? And I'm trying not to call out specific names, but I also would like for this to ring true for somebody. Cause like, yes, what I see on this is algorithm, but there's like a lot of people though that it seems like are referencing this shit. I mean, I guess that's what is really disturbing to me about it is like, and I've met some people out there in public that like, you know, Grand Rising and all that shit, and I'm just like, oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening? You know? And like, no, I'm not saying that saying Grand Rising is the end of the fucking world. It just kind of like gives me an idea of what you're paying attention to and what you're taking in, you know? And that shit is disturbing. I mean, you can say Grand Rising, but you're speaking English, so it doesn't matter. You can slip through the good morning thing, but then there's like a bajillion other things that you say throughout the day that are also based in fuckboy shit, you know? So it doesn't matter. Like, just don't give the intent to it. If you don't give the intent to it, then it doesn't fucking matter. Fuck, dude. I don't know. Very frustrating shit though. Very frustrating shit. Because even within some of the beings that I spoke about, not Billy Carson, fuck that nigga, but like Isaiah Rashad said a bunch of cool shit. He said a bunch of cool shit that were good points, you know? But again, then he started talking about Merkabas and shit. And I'm sure that if he kept going, he maybe would have started talking about like, you know, I mean, he talked about invoking and evoking stuff from all these different pantheons that he wasn't explaining to people what that shit came from, and was, you know, displaying stuff in some of his videos that was like questionable, like certain figurines and statues that could be used for other stuff than what was maybe expected from those that were watching those videos. Like, I don't know. I'm just very disturbed at the lack of like attention that anyone's paying to all these things that they are just doing. Like, someone watches a video about the 72 Goetia, or even more so, fucking like ceremonial magic, ritualistic magic, and then they start doing, there's so many that are just doing ritualistic magic right now, and like, you don't even know what that shit does, dude. You have no idea. You know? It's rampant and very weird, and magic is just a word. That's why I keep saying technology when I talk about some of these things, because magic is just a word. Technology can be the same thing. Our body is technology. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that I think that a lot of the time, those that are trying these things either don't think that it's real in a realistic sense, so they're just doing a thing to make themselves feel better, or they think that it's going to work exactly the way that it's been described to them. But before you do magic shit, go look up stories of things that have happened to people who have done rituals, like actual rituals too. Or like, you know, that shit's hard to find though. It just seems like these are the intended things, because you can find a bunch of people telling you to do rituals, but you don't see very many, like, especially not non-Abrahamic people. Most of what you see out there with people talking about how they were a witch and shit, now they're Christian, or now they're a Muslim, or now they're, you know, whatever. And that doesn't help, because that just makes many of the anti-type people like myself be like, well, no, fuck that. And then they lean heavier into the concept of magic or whatever it is they're looking into. I don't know. I'm not trying to police people's shit, dude. Just this shit is concerning to me because there's a whole bunch of other shit that we could be paying attention to and then fuck with all this stuff later, you know? I guess that's a big part of it for me is like there's a bunch of other very tangible shit that is not mysticism and is not metaphysical at all that we could be paying attention to and coming together to do something about, or at least attempting to. And then all of this shit that people are fucking around with right now, if you still want to do that, then you know, do it. But I think most are doing these things because they're unhappy. They're not happy with how life is going, and so they think, oh, well, maybe I'll try, you know, maybe I'll try to fucking invoke panem and get the secrets from panem. Fuck, from panem. That is horrifying. There's like just a bunch of people trying to summon shit, and they don't know what they're doing at all. You don't even know if that's what that is that you're doing. Like, I don't know how to say that right. Like do you know if that's actually summoning something or if you're just giving something a door to come through? Do you know that you have the power to like bound it to a place, or are you just like letting shit in, and because it didn't say hi to you, you think it didn't work? Like there's all these things that just kind of like go through my head about all these topics, and I'm like at a loss for words sometimes, or not at a loss for words. I have too many words and it seems like I'm fucking frantic or something. But I'm not talking shit though. These are things I don't know. I don't know. Fuck, dude. I guess this is kind of what I mean when I reference simulation a lot. Cuz like the past couple days I've talked about these like kind of large topics that seem very like intense, and I'm intense about them. And when you think about all of those actively within the same like, you know, little succession, it's a lot. And most don't pay attention to any of it. And it's just like from their perspective, because they're not paying attention to it, it doesn't exist. Meanwhile, it absolutely it absolutely exists and is like creeping up behind them, and that sucks. I don't know, man. I am just rambling at this point. I'm gonna fucking go. Bye. Oh, I forgot to say, the next video I do is gonna be about frequency. I'm gonna talk about some shit. I might get into some personal shit, but not too heavily. I think it's gonna be more of like presentation format, so that what I said previously in that that Devil's video can be supported rather than just seeming like I'm talking about a movie. I've got videos about that already, kind of, just not specifically. I talk about it in passing. It's the harp videos. But this isn't just going to be about harp. This is more so, in fact, I'm not really going to talk about that too much at all. I'll touch on it a little bit, but frequencies in general and their applications as they're being R&D'd and implemented now. Yep.